Tencent has opened up its own cloud gaming platform, Start, for public testing by users in Shanghai and Guangdong. This announcement comes just over a week after Google revealed its own cloud streaming platform, Stadia. It will be interesting to see if other tech giants follow suit and release similar products. As translated and reported by the Gamasutra, NWABSITEP allow MPTS users to sign up for an appointment, while people in other regions, though China, can register to be notified when testing will be available near them in the future. Apart from some newly published cloud game-related jobs on Tencent's recruitment page, there does not seem to much information around the new streaming platform. This is separate the streaming service Tencent is building with Intel, dubbed Instant Play, which was revealed last month. After watching the way humans work for so long, a team of robots are looking to start their own world on a distant planet in an attempt to be human. In the colonists, inspired by the settler scams on the MO series, the colonists give you a team of robots to control and become human. Through building various paths, roads, and structures, you can start to make your own bit of land for your colony, all which will work towards being self-sustaining. These robots tend to follow the best paths automatically, fulfilling tasks, moving resources, and generally trying to be more human than robot, looking for peace and to become more like the humans they used to live with. You will need to help these robots follow their dreams. I got the chance to interview Richard Wallace, the developer behind the colonists, via email about creating and designing this cute yet challenging game. UI is one of the most important elements for any strategy game. Unlike most, the colonists has a lot of number crunching and statistics driving the game behind the scenes. Figuring out what to show the player and how to show it is a tricky balancing act, as you want important information to be easily visible or accessible to players, but you do not want to overwhelm them, especially as it's generally quite a laid-back game. One principle was to try and minimize the information, particularly numbers, that is on the screen by default. The game is designed so a lot of what is happening can be read visually within the game world, in that you can physically see each resource moving about. You can watch an LUMBERBOT chop down a particular tree, and you can see an angry carrybot emoting if the road is being blocked by too much traffic. Once you have noticed an issue that you might want to dig into more, then there are various panels that you can open, and there are various numbers and graphs telling you such things as whether you are making a surplus of a particular resource, how productive a building is, or what water resource is taking across your colony. But again, these panels are designed not to intrude too much and can be kept open as you continue to play. One of the core concepts of the game was to have all the resources one-to-one, as in they all take up the same physical space and that you could always see where every resource is all of the time, whether it's being carried by a bot, it's on a boat or train, or in storage, and the same applies to the robots. Each of their jobs is focused on either moving, collecting or consuming these resources and taken on their own. Each robot's job is quite simple. Carrybots just take one resource from one road post to the other. Stackbots follow paths and only bring in and drop off resources. Lumberbots just go and chop down the nearest tree. If you watch any bot for a minute, it's quite easy to follow what each one is up to. There are two types of main routes in the game, roads and paths. Roads are connections between two road posts. Road posts act as temporary storage nodes and can hold 4 resources. Each road has a carrybot who moves resources between these road posts. as required, and this kind of mechanic will be familiar to anyone who played the early Settlers games. The second type is the path, which connects a building to a road. Each building has its own stackbot, who will use a path to collect incoming resources from road boats and drop off resources that the building has produced. This path system gives you two extra benefits when laying out your colony. Firstly, it gives you more freedom and allows more creativity in your town planning, and secondly, if two buildings share the same path, they will be able to deliver resources to each other directly, rather than having to collect from a road post. This gives you some really interesting optimization options where you can group shared economic buildings together to reduce traffic on your road network. But there is a fine balance to be had, as if your interconnected paths are too long, the productivity of your buildings will suffer, as the stackbots will have too far to travel and building production will back up. The energy system was one mechanic which ended up changing several times during development. It began as an abstract global number, which was automatically distributed across all the production buildings in your colony. This did not scale up particularly well, so we went through a few other stages, including a happiness system for the robots and delineated ages, which you had to progress through. Ultimately, we went with energy being a physical resource like everything else and limiting it to only being required by certain collection buildings, and it ended up working pretty well. In hindsight, something can seem quite obvious, but it often takes a journey to reach that point. Another mechanic which went through several iterations was the road and pathing system, which tried various combinations of limited and unlimited road lengths. But sometimes you just have a mechanic where, whichever way you go, there is always a trade-off between flexibility, ease of use, and integrity of the mechanics. Eventually you just have to go with your own instinct on the best balance. It's definitely useful as a way to gather a consensus on the types of features players might like to see added. For example, cooperative multiplayer is much more requested than competitive multiplayer, and that can inform the direction you take when working on future content. It also lacks a bit of a roadmap, in that as a developer you can indicate that you are actively adding new features and players get to see which ones are being worked on next and know there are going to be updates in the future. You get a whole range of ideas coming in. Many of them will be things you are already considering or have on an existing wish list. Some others will be really cool, but would just take too much time to implement, while some just might not fit in mechanically or have unintended design consequences. But again, it's a handy way to formalize and collate player feedback. We had several private beta rounds during development, and especially as a solo developer with a game of this scale, getting fresh feedback during this time was incredibly useful, and I am grateful to every single tester who sent in bad reports and kept playing new builds of the game. But you also have to be quite judicious when looking at player feedback. You need to remember to be super objective when filtering what people are saying and determining the root cause of their issue and whether it's valid or not. For example, if a player is angry about their roads getting clogged up, is it a symptom of unfinished tuning, or the lack of a polished tutorial, or whether it is actually an underlying issue with the game? Even from Mode 7, the game's publisher had a good take on how to pass feedback. http www modepgames.com blog 2013 divided by 1109 in the advice. How to respond to beta feedback. One tip I would give is to get gameplay video from testers where possible, especially in early builds. Watching how a player behaves and interacts with the game can often give you different, and often much earlier, pointers compared to the conclusions players draw themselves. We are still in the beta phase of the metadata, as we test and refine the features, but there will be a straightforward way to save and share maps, and we will be leveraging the Steam Workshop system so players have a way to player and rate Area 1's maps. Map editors are always a feature that only a minority of players will use, but if you are like me,